If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as follow me and subscribe to me on all my other social media platforms. What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am finally here with the fifth and final part of the Top 50 Albums of 2022 series. We've talked about 40 albums so far. We got 10 more to go, and these are some real killer ones that came out this year that I absolutely loved. But before I get into the top 10, I want to throw in a few honorable mentions. Talking quickly about Sadistic Drive's Perpetual Torture, Atomic Symphony with Hybris, Cult of Luna, The Long Road North, Amon Amarth, The Great Heathen Army, Heaving Earth, Darkness of God, Ghost, Impera, Municipal Waste, Electrified Brain, Obsidious, Iconic, Nocturnal Graves, and Outlaws Stand, Intent, Exile, Crowbar, Zero and Below, James LaBrie, Beautiful Shade of Grey, and Creeping Flesh, and Then the Bombs Came. All those albums were really, really good, but didn't quite make the cut for the top 50. But with those honorable mentions out of the way, let's get to the top 10. Kicking off at number 10 with Midnight's Let There Be Witchery. I have become a huge Midnight fan as a result of listening to this album. Like, I had not listened to a Midnight album before this year. Then I listened to this when it came out, and it's like, holy shit. Fucking all hail Athanar, man. I mean, he just knows how to write. It's a basic formula, but it's the formula that I like when it comes to something like this. Just blackened speed metal with some classic metal worship, a little bit of a punk energy to it. I mean, just like, feels like what would happen if Motorhead and Venom had an evil satanic partying baby. Out comes Midnight, and just, I mean, songs on here like More Torment, Sex Witchery. That music video for Sex Witchery is still fucking amazing to watch. And just Athanar just knows how to perform everything to the best of his ability with the style he's going for. He knows a few beats, but he does those beats very, very well. Knows how to play some really cool bass, and the guitars, like some awesome catchy riffs, cool hooks, cool choruses, cool leads, and the vocals just unwieldy, unhinged. Fucking all hail Midnight. I hope I can get a chance to see this band live someday, because I feel like it'd be a hell of a fun time, and also see some hot chicks on stage. That would be kick-ass. But yeah, Midnight at my number 10. Coming in at number 9, we have Zentrix with 7 Words. Yeah, this was another recent one I checked out, and holy shit, I think this album, in terms of like old school thrash bands, I think this was the best album from an old school thrash band this year, in my opinion. Like, all these riffs just remind me of classic Bay Area thrash, like Metallica, Testament, and Exodus, just mashed together, while the vocals kind of feel like a mix of Zetro Sousa from Exodus and Mila Petroza from Creator. Like, it has that aggression to the vocals, and again, these riffs and leads and even the grooves just feel like classic Bay Area thrash. And it's, I've talked about this before, is it just me, or does a lot of British thrash bands take a lot of influence from, like, old Metallica? Because, you know, Onslaught, Evil, Zentrix all have moments that remind me of old Metallica, but they do it in their own individual, unique ways. But yeah, Zentrix 7 Words, in my opinion, in terms of who had the best old school thrash album, or best thrash album from an old school band, this was the band, and this was the album at number 9. Coming in at number 8, another one that kind of came out of nowhere, we have Saur with Origins. So I checked out this, and like I said, it was described as like atmospheric, folky black metal. There's a lot of folk, there's a lot of atmosphere, and a little bit of black metal, But there's a lot of old school heavy metal on here, like Iron Maiden all over this album. And I just love this album, despite the blackened nature of it. It's very relaxing, it's soothing, it's well-crafted, beautiful music that you could take out, like, have your headphones on, your cell phone in your pocket, and you put this album on while you're walking on a trail for a hike, and you feel right at home. The production was fantastic. Actually, the producer was the same producer for the Ailstorm album I talked about in one of the earlier parts of the series, but still, this album, in terms of creating something for nature, this was definitely it. Absolutely beautiful. Moving on to number 7, speaking of beautiful nature-inspired stuff, we have Wilderun with Epigon. This was another early one that came out back in January, and it made the top 10. Just simply put, old school Opeth worship, but with some more symphonic and folky moments added in on top. And when these songs go into the longer song lengths, again, similar to an Abstract Illusion, able to keep your attention and just pay attention to everything that's happening musically. Like, everything that's going on here just absolutely captures you in terms of the melody, but yet when it gets really heavy, it can get balls out heavy and aggressive. But it's all about the beauty behind the melodic. I cannot speak. The beauty behind the melodies being performed on here too. The clean vocals are exceptional. The death growls whenever they pop in were really cool. And hell, this album was so great, they got nominated for a Grammy, which is like, what? Out of nowhere? A band that's only been going for a little while somehow gets a Grammy nod? That's absolutely impressive. Granted, I don't think they're going to win the Grammy because the Grammys don't know shit from Shinola, but still, doesn't take anything away from this album. This album, beautiful, well-crafted, masterful metal. And speaking of masterful, beautiful metal, but in the more sad sense, at number 6 we have Allegion with Damnum. I remember checking this one out when it came out in February, and it's such an emotional roller coaster ride, given the lyrical themes talking about loss and losing family, whether it's through divorce or death, and how much you miss the people you know and love. The song, God damn it. I always forget my shit. I don't know why, it's just my brain won't cooperate with me. What the hell is the name of that song? Called Home. I should have remembered that off the top of my head. But that song, one of the best songs of the year, just for the sadness, the sorrow that's felt. But there's so much somberness throughout this album when it gets down to the more melodic moments. But there are moments where it gets flat out brutal, like suffocation levels of brutal. But when it gets beautiful, it gets into like Opeth levels of beauty. Like Called Home has so much that reminds me of like Ghost Reveries era Opeth, but then you get moments that remind me of Obscura and Black Crown Initiate. Just Allegion just get better and better with each passing album. Like, I've checked out their last 3 now, and they just keep getting better and better, and I think this is the best album of their career, and it's just packed with so much emotion. Even the song In Mourning is one of the most beautiful under 2-minute instrumentals I've ever heard. But yeah, Allegion, my number 6. But now we're into the top 5, the real heavy hitters for me. Coming in at number 5, Sentient Horror with Rites of Gore. Stockholm, New Jersey, I think you know where this band's influences lie. Swedish death metal from Stockholm, and also Dan Swano, Matt doing the mixing on this album, and just holy shit, just old school Swedish death metal worship, and done very well. Just holy shit, and it's mostly like entombed worship, like Left Hand Path, clandestine worship, because it gets thrashy, but then it also gets quite groovy at times. But again, I'm a big slut for HM2 guitars, and this album kicks so much ass with a belt. And hell, it might kick your ass and then reenact kicking your ass, to steal a quote from Hank Hill. But yeah, top to bottom, old school Swedish death metal worship done here in the States, and it just rules. My number 5. Coming in at number 4, we get another debut, Schizophrenia with Recollections of the Insane. This is another Greek band. I mean, Greece pumped out so many great albums this year. It's absolutely incredible. But out of all the... actually, no, I think this is Belgian, now that I remember. Yeah, I think this is a Belgian band. No, we get to another Greek band later on. But, yeah, Belgium. I apologize if anybody from Schizophrenia saw this and thought, what do you mean Greece? I meant to say Belgium. I was thinking about the next band I'm going to talk about. But regardless... back on track. Recollections of the Insane. I just love how this album has so much, like, Slayer moments in here, even some, like, modern Evil, but I love how, for a death thrash band, it's like it captures the death metal brutality with the aggression of thrash, but I love how the lead work on here reminds me of Obscura at points, because it gets technical, but yet there's some cool melodies on top, and it's more sinister melodies rather than like beautiful melodies. But this album is just all about sinister hatred and brutality. And what more can I say about it other than it just fucking kicks ass? My number 4. Coming in at number 3, now we get to another Greek band. We have Vicious Knights with Alteration Through Possession. Another debut. Again, Greece just pumped out some incredible stuff this year, and this was the best of the bunch. And this is death thrash, but there's some blackened moments thrown in here too. Like, I think I talked about at length in the review of this album when it came out back in, I want to say it was January, like late January, early February. It has so much of like old school Sodom, Creator, but most especially like Merciless, but then there's some like old Sepultura and Possessed thrown in here, but mostly Merciless is what I got on here. But I just love how they were able to deliver like some of those like blackened blasts with some cool fast riffs. But when it gets straight up thrashy, it's killer. There's even a couple of D beats thrown in here. And I just love how raw and nasty this album sounds. And for me, best thrash album of the year. And it just absolutely blew my doors wide open to check out more underground thrash bands. But yeah, that was my number 3. Now we're on to the top 2. And these two albums were very, very close, but I think there was one that kind of reigned supreme overall. But it doesn't take anything away from album number 2. And coming in at number 2, Dark Throne with Astral Fortress. I'm a huge whore for Dark Throne now. Like, I will open my asshole and take the Dark Throne dick if I have to, because this album... I talked about in the review, it feels like it combines like the production style a little bit from Eternal Hails, but with the more songwriting approach of Old Star. Like, this album feels like a middle ground between Old Star and Eternal Hails. And I just love how all these songs just continue in Dark Throne's path of just crafting their own brand of old school heavy metal, doom metal, speed metal at times, but with like the more blackened aesthetic on top. I mean, songs on here like Caravan of Broken Ghosts, The Sea Beneath the Seas of the Sea, Kevorkian Times, Impeccable Caverns of Satan, Eon 2, which Eon 2 is basically like blackened Iron Maiden, and it's wonderful. Just lots of Black Sabbath moments on here, some Metallica, some Judas Priest, some Iron Maiden, even a little brief moment of Morbid Angel in a couple of tremolo riffs on Kevorkian Times. But again, just top to bottom, Dark Throne just still reigning supreme over a lot of bands. And Astral Fortress, my number 2. But there can only be one number one, and for me, number one, Bloodbath, Survival of the Sickest. Holy shit. Bloodbath's first album in 4 years, the third of the Nick Holmes era, and this is hands down the best of the Nick Holmes era. Maybe not the best Bloodbath album overall, but it's kinda up there. Like, I could see it going toe-to-toe with a couple of Bloodbath albums from the old days, but for the Nick Holmes era, hands down the best work of that era, because holy shit, a lot of these songs just go everywhere. Zombie Inferno, my favorite opening song of the year. It's just thrashy, it's brutal, it's disgusting. Putrefying Corpse with those more like punky D beats thrown in. Carved, which is this like catchy, groovy track. But the closer, and in my opinion, the best metal song of the year, No God Before Me, also known as God of Emptiness Part 2. It's Bloodbath doing their best worship of Morbid Angel, and done fucking right. Holy shit, that song still has not left my mind since I first heard it the day before the album came out back in September. Yeah, September. But yeah, Swedish death metal glory that has a lot of moments of American death metal thrown in. The HM2 tone is strong. Nick Holmes' vocals for Bloodbath are the strongest they've been ever. And I see no signs of this band slowing down. Like, I can't wait for their next one. Because holy shit, this album was brilliant. And my favorite of 2022. But anyways, that does it for the top 50 albums of 2022. Man, there was a lot to talk about. But yeah, this was a hell of a year for metal as a whole, and I can't wait to come back in 2023 and talk about more, and already it's looking like an even bigger year with some big releases already, which you'll find out more about that on New Year's Eve when I talk about most anticipated metal albums of 2023. But until then, I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, and I will see you very soon.